History tells us that the world wasn't always made of chrome and neon. There was a time long before the Great Scorch when the ground was soft to the touch and the sky was a color they called azure. But in Sector 4, history is just data, and data doesn't feed the soul. Here, the sky is a permanent bruise of grey smog, a ceiling that keeps us down, keeps us working, and keeps us blind. In the heart of the Iron Spire lived Kael. Kael wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a pilot flying the high lanes. And he wasn't a coder building the simulation. Kael was a waste management technician, Class C. In other words, he cleaned up the mess the robots left behind. He spent his days wandering the endless grey corridors. He would look at the malfunctioning droids and sigh. Unit 7 Alpha, you missed a spot. Again? Why do I even carry a wrench if you're supposed to be fully automated? His life was a perfect, endless loop of blinking red lights and synthesized protein. Wake up, scrub the floor, sleep, repeat. He had accepted that this was it, that life was just maintenance. Until Tuesday. It started in the ventilation shafts of the lower quadrant. Kael was clearing out a jam in the air filtration system, usually just dust and rust. But this time, amidst the grime, something glowed. It wasn't the cold, harsh blue of an LED. It was a warm, pulsating emerald green, a sphere, no larger than a marble, humming with a faint, rhythmic heat. He picked it up, whispering into the silence. What? What are you? You aren't metal. You aren't plastic. It was a seed. The kind that hadn't been seen in Sector 4 for 300 years. Kael knew the rules. Possession of unregistered organic matter was a level 5 offense. Punishment was an immediate memory wipe. But he felt a strange instinct kick in, a memory he didn't know he had. For the first time in his life, he didn't care about the rules. He pocketed the seed, his heart hammering against his ribs. Back in his quarters, a small metal box overlooking the smog, he placed the seed on his desk under the harsh, flickering light of his lamp. In this room of steel and wire, the seed looked impossibly lonely. He stared at it, feeling helpless. You need dirt, don't you? I don't have dirt. I have dust. I have synthesized protein powder and recycled water. He improvised. He crushed a nutrient bar into dust and poured a capful of water over it in a plastic cup. He placed the seed in the center. He whispered, "It's not much, but it's all I've got." For hours, nothing happened. Exhaustion eventually took him, and he fell asleep with his head on the desk. When he woke, the room was different. The air smelled sweet, sharp, alive. A single, spiraling vine had erupted from the cup. It wasn't just a plant. It was an explosion of life. It twisted upward, glowing with bioluminescent veins, wrapping around the desk lamp. It was beautiful, and it was dangerous. The plant was emitting pure oxygen, a spike so sharp it triggered the facility's alarms. Sirens began to blare. Red lights flashed against the metal walls. An automated voice boomed through the speaker. Biological anomaly detected. Containment squad dispatched. Compliance is mandatory. Kael grabbed the cup. Compliance, he muttered, is boring. He ran. He burst into the hallway, just as the containment drones rounded the corner. These weren't friendly janitor bots. These were spiders, six-legged enforcers with laser scanners. He wasn't a hero. He was just a guy who cleaned floors. But he knew one thing. He couldn't let them burn this. He needed to get to the roof. The legends whispered about the roof, the only place where the smog thinned enough to see the stars. The chase led him through the laundry chutes and into the cargo bay. The plant was growing heavier by the second. its leaves shimmering with iridescent patterns. Kael panted, clutching it tight. You're getting heavy, buddy. Stay small. It's safer to be small. That was the lie Sector 4 told everyone. Stay small, stay safe. But the plant didn't know how to lie. It only knew how to grow. Kael found an old, rusted maintenance grate and squeezed inside. It was a ladder leading straight up into the dark. This was the hardest part, the climb. 10 minutes passed, then 20. His arms burned. His lungs screamed. The air grew colder, turning to frost on the walls. Kyle slipped, barely catching a rung, looking down into the infinite black abyss below. He sobbed, hugging the cold metal. I can't do this. It's just a weed. Why am I dying for a weed? He wanted to let go. It would be so easy to fall back into the darkness. But then he felt it. A pulse. The vine wrapped around his arm tightened. Just a little. A gentle squeeze. It was warm. Okay, he gritted his teeth. Not today. We don't quit today. He pulled himself up, one rung at a time, converting pain into progress. Finally, his hand hit the hatch. He shoved the heavy metal door open and fell onto the grating. Silence. True silence. Kyle pulled himself up. The clouds were below him, a sea of grey. But above the sky was a deep, bruised purple, transitioning into black. And there, stars. Millions of them. He set the plant down on the freezing roof. We made it. He whispered. Look, no ceiling. But the hatch behind him sparked. Lasers cut through the hinges. The drones had found them. Kael looked at the plant, helpless. I'm sorry. There's no soil here either. Just metal. I brought you all this way for nothing. But as the first ray of starlight hit the leaves, the plant didn't need soil. It exploded with light. Roots didn't dig down. They dug in. They pierced the metal roof, converting the rust and iron into pure energy. A massive tree of glass and light erupted from the seed. It grew 50 feet in seconds, its canopy glowing gold against the night sky. The drones swarmed out, weapons charged, but they stopped. Their sensors scanned the tree. The automated voice stuttered. Target. Unidentifiable. Beauty. Exceeds parameters. Error. The robots lowered their weapons. Their red eyes turned a soft, wondering blue. They had no protocol for a miracle. Kyle sat at the base of the tree, watching glowing spores drift down toward the smoggy city below. Each spore was a new seed, a new beginning. He smiled. Unit 7 Alpha, you're going to have a lot of cleaning up to do. They told him nothing grows in the dark. They told him he was just a janitor. They told him to stay small, stay safe, and keep his head down. They were wrong. The environment doesn't define the seed. The soil doesn't define the tree. You can be surrounded by iron, by rust, by the weight of a world that wants to crush you. But if you have a vision inside you, you protect it. You carry it. You climb the ladder until your hands bleed, even when you can't see the top. Because you don't need a perfect world to start. You don't need permission to grow. You just need one seed and the courage to plant it. Sector 4 was still made of chrome and neon. But now it had roots.